online@gmail.com. We're proud to call Caldwell County home. WPKY.
1580 103.3 WPKY. Tess and Ty and Coffee Talk on the air this morning. And of course, we've got some friends here from our Caldwell County school systems. Mr. Nate Huggins, our superintendent. How are you?
Good and fine, Tess. Good morning.
He's
How are
here.
You?
I'm good. And then we've got the primary school principal, correct?
Yes.
And your name is?
Danny Bean.
Danny Bean. And I will say, I thank you for coming on. I told Nate the other day, I said, we need to get you guys on more often. We talk a lot about the middle school, and we talk a lot about the high school, and we talk about the primary school, but we don't know what you've got coming up. And I bet you with November, between Halloween, and then we're going to roll right into Thanksgiving, you've got a lot of things going on over at the primary school.
We do. We have things going on all the time. As a matter of fact, last week we just finished out with the electric plant board coming out. They do a program every year with our students on safety and electricity, and they bring out the bucket truck, and they let me ride up into the top. So that's always fun for the kids. So, of course, we'll have Halloween going on Thursday. All the teachers, they'll have different parties in their classroom. And coming up the Monday before we get out for Thanksgiving, we have a Native American program. Miss Claudia Johnson invites several people, so we have something going on all the time at the primary school. I'm sure I'm leaving out a lot of things. We had our Student of the Month last Friday and our Club Day celebration last Friday. So,
do you have that? Who they are?
Who?
The Student of the Month?
I sent it to the paper. We have there's actually about 18 of them. So each teacher has 1 to 2 from kindergarten, first grade, second grade. So we have several each month.
I tell Nate all the time I miss mine being in the primary school because they were so cute back then.
They're still cute. They're just a little bit bigger and cute.
Nate, they're not cute no more.
Sure
they're teenagers.
They'll be 32 and they'll still be your baby.
Well, that's true. They're still going to be my babies. But I loved it when my kids were at the primary. That was probably one of my favorite times as a mom with kids in school because, that's when they still brought you the papers and they showed you everything when they come home because they were so proud of it. Look what I colored. Look what I got. We're going to do this. By the time they get older, they don't show you nothing. You find out by other moms telling you.
You find it in your book bag.
Yeah, it's oopsie-doo. But, back when they're in primary school, that's when their eyes are just, they twinkle at everything.
They're sponges.
Yeah.
They take in everything that you tell them.
And the books they love to read, and I know you've got some great teachers over there.
We really do. It's like you said, it's really fresh for students at this age. We're teaching them. Our teachers are teaching them how to be students for the first time from our preschool program there, and just getting used to being around other kids, the social aspect. Again, kindergarten, first, second grade. A lot of times, this is the first time that kids have been with a lot of other students. So they're learning procedures, routines. They're learning different safety things that they've never had to worry about. And our teachers do a great job in teaching them how to be students. This is the first time that they are truly students to understand what it takes for them to learn and to be in a good place. So yes, I'm very proud of our job that our teachers do on a daily basis.
Well, I will say, we were talking about this the other day too, and I said, when I was a mom and I had the kindergartners, I remember that all of this is new to some of these moms.
Right.
They don't know what we do at Halloween and what we don't, and where we dress up and where we don't. So what are the rules for dressing up in Halloween and that sort of thing, and coming to school in costume and all those nifty things?
Well, we're pretty. We don't have just a lot of rules on that, because they do. It's a fun time that they get to dress up, wear their costumes. We just ask that they don't wear any kind of a mask, any kind of a thing that either go over their head or even a plastic mask, just for their own safety. So, throughout the day, it's kind of hard to, if as they're moving around, because we'll still be having class. We'll still be conducting, all of our reading and math and all our specials. We just don't want anyone to fall, get hurt, just because they can't see real well with the mask on. But no, we're pretty lenient as far as making sure, they wear their costumes and celebrate, because they want to show those off on Thursday at school as well.
Well, and I think we used to do the storybook characters. Was that what it was? It was something out of a storybook. And I believe one of mine was Huck Finn. When one of the boys were, because I remember putting overalls on them, and I think one of them was a deer hunter. And, of course, Abby, I'm sure she was a fairy or something. knowing her. She always wanted some kind of a princessy thing.
Yeah, for the most part, at our age, our students are still a lot of the fun type costumes,
Right.
not the scary type costumes. So that's kind of where our age range of our kids, they go.
I don't know. I've seen even the little ones. I call them the littles, but even the little ones, they're some of those costumes are scary, and they really get into that. And I was like, oh my goodness, I don't know, but they really get into some of that stuff early on, don't they?
They really do. They do.
Well, thank you for coming in and seeing us and telling us what all you got going on over there.
Sure. Like I said, we've got things going on all the time throughout the year. I think besides just our students learning to read,
Right.
learning math, science, social studies, they need to learn all the fun things too that go along with it. So when we have speakers coming in, 2 weeks ago, part of the Ag Days up at the elementary school, Miss Woods, she called, said, hey, can we bring a presentation down for you guys for dairy cattle? So they had a cow, they milked for us. So our kids love that. So all those things that go above and beyond just what's in a textbook as far as what's learned in the four walls of the classroom, we want our kids to experience a lot of things. It's been real good this year that we've had a lot of STEM activities. Our maker space in the library is all new. Our second grade teachers got a grant, so they're really involved in a lot of the STEM activities. And all these things are just to allow kids a little bit more hands-on. We did the same thing with our Project Lead the Way grant, or launch grant with our Miss Wolford and Miss Casey with science and computers with coding. And so all those things are just a little extra stuff. It allows kids to be a little bit more creative and hopefully open some avenues up for them to think a little bit different as far as in the future and careers,
Oh, it's
even
a
at
big
our age.
Yeah, it's a big step. I remember it being a big step for them from
Right.
primary to elementary. I'm not going to say that it was the as big of a shock almost as it is from elementary to middle school. That's almost a shock to the system. They come home going, what in the world?
Right.
They're completely shocked. But I think it's a little easier transition from primary to elementary.
It is. That has been changed over the years. Probably in the mid to late 80s, we started going to that middle school concept in education, whereas high schools were 10, 11, 12. Junior high, 7, 8, 9. And that was a tough transition to go from 6th grade elementary to 7th grade, junior high. And so they've, high school 9 through 12 now, middle school encompasses the 6th grade. You still have that transition from 5th to 6th. But, and a lot of that has to do with age. But our students in the spring, they'll go up and they'll visit, the elementary school, kind of get them ready for that. And it is a big transition for them. But like you said, it's pretty smooth. Not as big as when they go from elementary to middle school.
How you doing on parent volunteers? You need any of those?
This day and age, it's a little bit different than what it used to be with our site-based policy and what they're able to do with different FERPA laws. Our volunteers kind of come in primarily, they may help with copies, some things like that, more clerical type duties. As far as being in the classroom now, that's a difficult with FERPA laws. And so a lot of times that's what our parents would like to do as far as volunteer. But our site-based policy prevents that. They can come and help as far as making copies and things of that nature. But as far as being in actual classrooms, that's kind of a thing of the past as well.
Of course, you also got your parent organization too. I mean, they can always do.
That is getting started back up. Our PTO, as a matter of fact, they have just elected officers last week. So they're trying to get some things started. It's been down a little bit the last couple of years, but we've got a new group that's coming in, new officers. So hopefully it'll pick back up. And the primary and the elementary schools share a PTO.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's fantastic, Nate. It looks like
They're
that
they're doing a great job at the primary school.
Well, I know you're busy.
Danny is he's got the pulse on the school, and he's got great faculty and staff there. If you just have the opportunity, Tess, to come out there and just walk through the building and see what's going on each and every day in every classroom, it's phenomenal. It really is.
Well, and that's important too, because that's where they really, if they'll get a good start and a good foundation, and enjoy primary school from the very beginning. You don't get the crying kids every day that say, I don't want to go to school, Mama, don't make me go to school. They get up and they want to go to school and they get excited about it. And I think that has a lot to do with how they do when they get there.
That's correct. On a daily basis, when our students show up every morning, they're happy to be there at the beginning of the school year. We have a few tears shed. A lot of times more shed by moms than we do students.
No.
The little ones when they come there. But
I'm still crying, Nate Huggins. I don't know what you're talking about.
But once they kind of get in the routine and everything, yes, they love being there. I told when I took the job a couple of years ago, and Mr. Boyd had just retired, and he asked me how everything was going. I said, I love it. I've had more hugs in the first 2 weeks here than I had in 30 years at high school level. So I really have enjoyed it. I want to make sure that all of our students are happy and want to be there. That's because it's where it starts.
I started to say that's good, though. You're getting hugs when they accept you.
Right. This lifelong journey of lifelong learning, it begins at this age. And so, you want them to be, have a positive mindset. So that's what I've enjoyed most about everything as far as being at the primary, is how eager these kids are to learn and how happy they are to be there. And so I want them to be safe. That's my main priority. We want everybody to be safe at the primary school, and we want them to be happy. We want them to enjoy education, their personal education.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that. What do you got going on?
I got a few things going on, Danny. If you need to get back to school, you can go ahead and go, and I'll finish up here today.
Okay.
But thanks so much for coming out.
Thanks, Mr. Huggins.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
We appreciate you being with us. That was good. I'm glad he's doing a good job.
I was in the classroom with him the other day in Sarah Kukihiko's class, and it was phenomenal, the words that they were going through. And
she's great.
They were co-teaching, and it was absolutely a great event to watch.
You picked a good class to go into.
I guarantee
she's fantastic.
It was absolutely wonderful. I want to bring you up to date on our grants on what Ms.
I
Tammy
wish
Sanders
you
is
would.
doing. Of course, we received a $25,000 check from Monsanto and Bayer back on September 27th.
Oh, wow.
And that goes back to some of the makerspace and STEM activity that Mr. Bean was talking about. Elementary and the primary school, they got Chromebooks. The middle school got science equipment to work in their science labs. And the high school ag, food service lab equipment, vet tech equipment, and wood carving machine. I'd like to go see that wood carving machine.
Oh, that's a neat one.
And I've been working with Lisa Trimble to secure dates for the Louisville Ballet and Louisville Children's Theater grant-funded performances. They're coming.
Oh,
so that's going to be great for our kids.
That'll
to
be
see
fantastic.
That. Grants submitted and waiting status have been submitted by Ms. Sanders. Milwaukee Tool donation request. Our Regional and Career Center has submitted a request to Milwaukee Tools. One school did this. I got that information from Mr. Bill Clift. They received $50,000 worth of tools for their
wow.
So, why not ask? All you can do is get a no. But that's
that's a great way to look at it, though. And I wish to goodness more kids would look at things that way, too.
Yeah.
You're not going to get what you don't ask for.
That's right. I mean, just be persistent about it. And we've got that waiting in the wings for us. A Target Field Trip grant that Debbie Houghton from the elementary school and Polly Ann Kimmel from the middle school has submitted that. A Cops Stop School Violence, that's something that I got Ms. Sanders to look into. It's $500,000 for our district if we get it. It's for safety.
Wow.
What we could do with $500,000 for our schools, we could build all our vestibules, we could do all that stuff. Maybe bring in a couple more SROs to have one in each building if we receive that grant.
What do we do to qualify for that? Is that just, put it in and hope?
Put it in and hope. And I guess they look on their board, who's the most needy. And Miss Sanders does a great job of writing.
Does she make us look good and needy? Because we need to.
We are needy. And she's done quite well for us. We got close to $100,000, and she was only with us for the first year at the end of November through May. So she's doing a fabulous job for our school district. NEA Professional Development Math Conference, David Schaefer. McDonald's Battle of the Books for Miss Lisa Trimble. She's put in a grant for that.
I loved that,
Project
by the
Lead the
way.
Way, Melissa Thomas for $5,000. And Bill Belichick, football lighting, Mr. Sam Hawks, he's got something going on for that. So we'd love to have some new football lights at our Tiger Stadium. Grants that are underway, that's stuff that's been submitted, and we're waiting for feedback, for a yes or a no. Other grants that are submitted, a friend of mine in Greene County, who's superintendent down there, he said we did a Baseball Tomorrow grant, and they received it for new LED lighting for their softball and baseball fields.
Oh, wow.
So I asked him if he could provide that information to me. He did. I gave it to Tammy, so we submitted that for our school district. South Arts Traditional Music Grant, and that's for the elementary school and the middle school. Miss Lisa Trimble did that. Kentucky Professional Development Mini Grant, and that's Miss Wetzel. She's got that underway. 21st Century Community Learning Center, that's Miss Wetzel, and that's underway.
Oh, wow.
Toshiba has STEM Scopes subscription, elementary school. Toshiba Library Furniture, middle school, Dottie Roberts. McDonald's Camera Club, equipment and supplies, Logan Schaefer from the primary school. McDonald's Arthur Visit, Miranda Meeks at the middle school. And Whole Foods and Annie's garden grants, Megan Woods. That's quite a bit that's going on with our grant
Right.
program.
Well, and somebody might say, well, why are we wasting our time on baseball lighting grants? When you think about things like that, even the LEDs, that saves the county money.
Oh, it saves
when
big
you
money.
talk about LEDs
Exactly.
versus the other types of bulbs, just like it does in your house.
We've got so many things that we have to maintain, and a lot of our lights have not been replaced for a long time.
And it could make a big difference.
Make a big difference in our overhead as far as output for our utility bills, and give us a better product for our kids to be safe
And
with
maintenance, too.
And maintenance, and on the field of play, it will help as far as for safety.
I think that's
But that
great.
talks about the grants. Now, we did get the roof finished on the Butler Gym building. Now, our second phase of that project is we're going to get those windows taken care of. We're going to get that. That's an unsightly mess. It's been that way since I've come in here, and it's
Been a
been
long
that way.
time.
Yeah, we need to fix that. We're going to. The board said we need to get it done, and we're in step 2 of that process. So just be patient, and hopefully before Christmas is out, we'll have that all policed up.
I'm excited
And
about that. I mean,
it's
that's a
gonna make
community
our
gym.
It is a community gym, and it's going to make our campus right there at Central Office look wonderful to get that placed up. We're also going to start working on the maintenance building across the street to try to place that up and make that our district maintenance building. So that's underway. What's kind of slowed us down a little bit is Mr. Bruce Farmers. He hurt his arm working on the school, pounding a post in the pavement, and tore a tendon from his elbow. So that's kind of slowed him
You
up.
got to quit working these people's hard.
Well, I tell you what, he's not a sitter. he or Jeff, they like to work hard and stay busy, but he tore up his elbow and he can't do anything really physical until it gets cleared by the doctor. I think that may be the end of December.
Well, I'll tell you, I had a couple of parents that were talking to me over the weekend from a different county. We'll just say it that way. And they spoke of how nice our grounds are at the high school.
Skipper
and said,
and-
I don't know who does all of y'all's stuff, but that it just maintained really well.
Skipper does a phenomenal job. Bruce and Jeff do a phenomenal job on the maintenance side. Mr. Brown, he gets on a mower. He's not too proud to get on a mower. If he sees something needs to be done, he'll get on a riding mower and he'll place something up either at our soccer field and football fields this year, I think, are the best that they've looked in a long time. And it's because of the insight and input from Mr. Brown.
Well, other people are noticing as well, so I wanted to make sure that they knew that.
Well, it's really a great school district to be in and we get a lot of compliments from visiting teams to say, hey, you've got some great facilities here.
Well, and I'm going to brag on the students for a minute, too, because I will tell you, I hear a lot of the coaches telling the kids, but I also see a lot of the kids doing it without having to be told. They go out there and they pick up their mess before they leave the bleachers. Or, I'll see a group of students go behind them and go down the bench, on the field and make sure that that's cleaned up. So, I mean,
they do that at home ball games. I saw that the other night at the home volleyball game. There's some kids picking up some cups and stuff that other people had left behind.
So, I mean, that helps, too.
It helps us tremendously to do that. It really does. I want to put a shout out to the Band of Pride. They finished 12th this last weekend in the state championships. Mr. Thomas and all the band members, great job for our school district.
Mr. Cook, too. He come in this year and helped.
Yeah, and Mr. Cook, I appreciate everything that you all have done for our kids. It's phenomenal to get to state. Really, it really is, and we're just so deeply proud of you. And of course, we're proud of our volleyball team. They're going to North Hopkins tonight to play Hoptown. I think it's at 7:30. I was on the news earlier this morning.
Middle school basketball tore it up over the weekend.
Middle school basketball had a great weekend. I mean, our kids do phenomenal things on the field of competition.
Look at Emma Talley.
Oh, and she's currently number 2 in that playoff. They have another 4-round playoff for that.
We had
at a
Mr.
different-
Riley do well at in the collegiate level over the
right.
weekend. Some of our alumni that go out into the world
Right.
past here.
I think one of our football players I was just listening to had 4 touchdowns over the weekend.
Isn't that amazing?
Lindsey.
Isn't that amazing?
I mean, and they're 8-0. The team that he's on right now is 8-0. I mean, he's been doing a phenomenal job there. I think he graduated in 2014, 15.
I
think.
love that. I will tell you. I think that when you've got a good school system and you've got a good foundation and you've got a community that supports them, I think that's what happens.
But I'm gonna wrap it up, Tess, and just tell you that we have a phenomenal Board of Education.
Mm-hmm.
Their purpose is to make sure we're doing the very best in the classroom, out of the classroom, and we maintain our facilities ready for education of all our kids.
Right.
And they don't want it just for one group of kids. They want it for all kids in our
Right.
school district because they all can learn. And one last thing is that they okayed an energy proposal that was given to us by CMTA out of Lexington
Oh, wow.
to pursue, to look at trying to police up 3 of our 4 of our buildings through the heating and air conditioning situation, because we have 3 buildings that are a year apart, and those systems are over, one school is over 30 years old, and they're going to start to break down. And for us to try to piecemeal that, it's expected in our facility plan over $7 million.
Wow.
We may be able to get this done with this grant, this energy grant. It's an
Right.
energy program for $2.5 million, because we'll get $2.5 million back in savings. The total cost of the project is about $5 million. But we'll get back in savings $2.5 million over the life of the program. So in reality, we're going to be spending $2.5 million.
But it's worth it.
But it's worth it. And that will take care of 3 schools, the primary, elementary, and middle, bring their heating and air conditioning up to standard. We're going away from the R22 coolant, Freon.
Healthier that way,
It's
too,
healthier
on the
that way,
students.
But we'll also bring in some fresh air returns, which we do not have in the primary, middle, and elementary school.
Right.
That is it. That is a need. That'll keep our kids healthier, keep our staff and faculty healthier.
Well, I am happy and pleased, and as a mama, I thank you.
Well, you're welcome. But
We
we have a
appreciate it.
phenomenal board, and I just want to say thank them. I want to thank them for all their support that they give me.
Well, I'm telling you, you need to hold on to that grant writer. She's doing
Well, let me tell
she's
you what,
doing a good job.
She is something else, and I really appreciate. And one last thing, I'm going to say this is the last thing. Jimmy Dyer is going to retire this week.
I heard that.
So I'd like to see if I can squeeze in maybe Thursday morning to maybe bring him out here so we
I
can
think
say
we
a-
could do
say a
that.
farewell.
We could
If
give
you
him a hard time
give me
one
about-
last
Give me
time.
about 5 minutes with Jimmy.
Yeah, I think we could do that. We'd
But
give him a hard
he's
time.
He's done a phenomenal job in our school district, and we're deeply indebted to him.
Absolutely. Well, we will see you Thursday then.
Well, thank you very much.
Well, you need to
Tess.
warn Jimmy. I guess we just did.
We just did. Jim, if you're listening, put it on your calendar.
Hey, it is 8:31 with Tess and Ty. Nate Huggins, thank you so much as
Thank you, Tess.
always. We appreciate it. Stick around. We're going to check in with Ty over at Trice Hughes next at 1580 103.3 WPKY.
You have to be up in 5 hours, 2 hours, 6 minutes. And when you hear, you realize that you haven't slept a wink. That's why there's ZzzQuil Pure Z's, a drug-free blend of botanicals with an optimal dose of melatonin, so you can fall asleep naturally with no next-day grogginess. It's available in both liquid and gummies, tastes great, and is non-habit forming. Pick up ZzzQuil Pure Z's from the sleep experts at Vicks ZzzQuil. ZzzQuil Pure Z's, naturally superior sleep. Available at retailers near you.
Listen up, America. Why in the world would you start your day with an unwrapped, zip-zap, sad sack breakfast mishap when the McDonald's app lets you order, pay, and pick up a nice and hot griddle sizzle breakfast with a tap-tippity-tap? I think I just rhyme answered my own rhyme question. McDonald's mobile order and pay. Just order in the app, pass the line with the tap, and wake up breakfast with McDonald's. Mobile order and pay at participating McDonald's. McDonald's app download and registration required.
1580 103.3 WPKY with Tess and Ty. And Ty, have you got that Trice Hughes test drive going?
You know I do, Tess, and I'm telling you, the home team at Trice Hughes, they always put me in something really great, and I had the privilege today of being in just a beautiful 2019 GMC Sierra 4x4 Z71. This thing is a colored red quartz, and it's a double cab. They call it extended cab, some people would say, but this thing is absolutely gorgeous. And you know that euphoric feeling you get when you step inside a brand new vehicle. There's just nothing like it. The smells, the bells, and all the good stuff. And this one has it. I'm telling you, Tess. This one, of course, is got that new cool tailgate. You might have seen it. It's called an Easy Lift, and it lowers the tailgate. It does all kinds of different configurations. That's on the GMC, and that is awesome. But mechanically, let me tell you, this thing has a 5.3 liter V8 Ecotec 3 engine, 6-speed automatic transmission, 4x4 just right here on the console. Just spin the dial there. This one has an off-road package, so to speak. So it's got a suspension that is a little bit higher. The wheels are 18-inch bright machined aluminum. It's got a high-capacity air cleaner, and of course inside, all your charging, your bells and whistles, a nice big screen for navigation, backup camera, OnStar, Wi-Fi ready. Also Sirius XM ready, and of course I am on 1580 AM in here because I'm an AM radio kind of guy, and that's where I would suggest keeping your radio on 1580 103.3 WPKY as you drive in this beautiful red vehicle, Tess.
I'll tell you, that sounds like it's right down my alley. Even the sound of the color. What is that color again, Ty?
They call it red quartz. It's almost a maroon, but it is absolutely gorgeous.
Sounds it.
I can't, you just got to see it to believe it.
Well, and I'll tell you that the bed going up and down and all of that, boy, now that is something that I could handle.
Well, it just makes it nice and easy, to get into the back of the truck if you're hauling something. If you're just going to sit back and watch a ball game, or maybe you're just tailgating, because this thing would be great on the farm, but it's also great just to put the family in. Plenty of room in this cab. Again, it's a double cab, and you can take it to the ball game and tailgate. You can use it on the farm, of course. Throw some hay in the back of it. It's just an altogether great vehicle for whatever your needs are. And it's just absolutely gorgeous. Again, everything on the inside is plush and loaded and ready to go. Right here on the steering wheel is all your controls. Don't have to take your hands off the wheel. And Bluetooth ready, all the charging. It's just a great ride. You can get in it and go for 1,000 miles or 10 miles, and it'll get you there in comfort and with confidence.
Well, I'll tell you, Ty, that sounds like something I need. But, if they don't have, maybe you say, I'm just not a truck person. I just don't necessarily have a use for a truck. Well, that's okay. Because just because you're not maybe a truck person, they've got other things that they can hook you up with, too. Now, you can call Trice and get the hometown team working hard for you, 270-896-0753. Now, if they don't have what you're looking for, they actually will find it. They'll go out and find it, and they won't quit until they do. You can check out their inventory without ever leaving the house, TriceHughes.com, or visit the dealership on Highway 91 North in Princeton, right across the street. You can wave at us from WPKY while you're over there. Trice wants your business, so give Trice a try. It's from 1580 103.3 WPKY. Tess and Ty. Ty, come on home. Bring it home. 103.3 WPKY.
PKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast.
Well, should be. When these clouds kind of get out of here, we are going to have some clouds throughout the day. Nothing too bad, though. The rain's kind of going to move out and not kind of a mild day, really. High 64. Tonight, partly cloudy. Overnight low of 49. Tomorrow, sunshine. High 65. Now, on Wednesday, showers are likely. Those thunderstorms are possibly going to roll in after lunchtime. Cloudy. High 62. Now, your outlook, your future cast for Halloween, showers before lunchtime. High near 55. It is 51 at 1580 103.3 WPKY.
Your WPKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast is brought to you by Community Medical.
Hey guys, Heidi with Capitol Cinemas, your local Princeton movie theater with your weekday lineup. In Cinema 1, Rambo Rated R, shows Monday through Thursday at 6:30. In Cinema 2, The Addams Family PG, shows Monday through Thursday at 6:30. In Cinema 3, Joker Rated R, shows Monday through Thursday at 6:30. Call during showtime hours at 270-365-0200 or visit us at capitalcinemas.net. Thanks for listening. See you at the show.
Your WPKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast is brought to you by Fredonia Valley Bank.
Step in to The Joint Barbecue Restaurant in Eddyville and soak in your country roots. The Joint's menu has an Eric Church theme that brings in stories and experiences we all know and love about country music. Owner and pitmaster Jared Schote and his wife Allison invite you into their brand new restaurant, The Joint. The Joint stands alone when it comes to smoking meats by using their secret family recipes. Pulled pork, brisket, jumbo wings, ribs, and chicken. Homemade soups, sides, and beer cheese. All waiting on you at The Joint.
1580 103.3 WPKY. Tess and Ty and Coffee Talk. And I will tell you, Ty, hurry on back. He'll be here in just a few minutes. But before, we've got Miss Beth Mann in this morning. And I've been excited about it. And I told her, I said, we found out there was a couple of different things this month. And it was Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Right.
And the Women in Business Month. And that, I said, man, I can't think of any more month that was tailor-made for anybody other than you. This lady, I'll tell you, she makes you. I said, I get excited when I'm around her, and I want to just I feel like such a slacker because she makes me want to do more and more and more. And
a slacker you are not.
But I said, you're one of those ladies that inspire other people, and you have this way about you that you make other people want to be better and want to do more. And I don't know how you do it, and maybe it's just I don't know, but you do. You have this thing about inspiring other people, and maybe it's the survivor in you. I think maybe that might be part of it. But I mean, you have a spark about you and I think that's where does that come from, by the way?
I don't know. I've been different my whole life. It's really kind of odd. My mom said even as a little girl, the kids would go do one thing and I would go do something else. And, I teasingly say they zig, I zag. And I think there is some truth in that. My mom's a very determined, very, very smart woman. She was salutatorian of her class. She was one of 9 children. Her dad died when she was just 7 years old, and there were 4 siblings that were much younger that pretty much, had to just figure it out. I mean, that was in the mid 40s, late 40s, and for a woman to raise children by herself in the 40s was really a pretty exceptional thing, I think. And so she just she had a lot of fight in her and a lot of ability to just get things done. And then my parents divorced when I was 7. 7 must be that magic number. And I was daddy's girl big time, and that was pretty hard to deal with because they didn't just divorce. He moved away. He was with Emerson Electric Company, and he had an opportunity to move to a plant there in Oxford, Mississippi, and that's when I fell in love with music. And it was my escape, and it was my thing, that I honed in on and tried to become better at it. And my very first Christmas, I asked for a record player. My dad got me this little portable green and white and pink record player that you could pack places, and I would carry it to my friend's house, and I would always have the coolest music, and I would play DJ with those kids, and they were building a radio station across the street from my grandmother, and I stayed with her a whole lot when I was little because of my parents being divorced. Both my grandparents were my babysitters, and so they were building this little radio station in Elkton, WEKT, and I would go over there and hang out, and I was just totally in love. I mean, I was totally entrenched in that business, and I'm sure what a rat I was at 7 or 8 years old. I'm sure they were like, God, this kid needs to go home, but I didn't want to go home, and my mom would keep telling my grandmother, don't let Beth hang out over there. I mean, we don't know those people. We don't, And my grandmother was a really innocent, naive person. She never worked outside the home. She never drove a car. She married in the 8th grade, had 9 kids, and just never thought anyone was bad, So I would say, Big Mom, I'm going over to the radio station, and she would let me, And so I fell in love with that, and I came home one day and I told my mom, I said, when I grow up, I'm going to own radio stations. And my mom was always really positive with me, and she always said, sure, honey, I'm sure you will. And that's where we left that. And Tess, I was on a tear from that point forward to own radio stations. And, everything I did all through high school, I was, editor of our school newspaper and editor of our yearbook. I was in the speech club, debate team, and FHA. FHA is where I got a lot of my public speaking opportunities. And I never stopped thinking about owning radio stations someday. So it started as a little bitty kid.
Back in the day, they asked. One of the things that I loved, one of the quotes that I loved from Oprah, is they said, "Well, how did you do that? How did you decide it?" She said, "Well, it just never occurred to me that I couldn't."
Oh, that's true. I mean, I think, and a lot of that is in parenting. I mean, I don't think it's all in parenting, but my mom never ever told me I couldn't do it. It was always, "Sure, honey, I'm sure you will, or you can." She always told me you can have anything you want as long as you work hard for it. And I was the first one in my family to go to college, and it never occurred to me that I wouldn't, because I was told all my life I could.
Right.
And I watched strong women. My mom and my grandmother both, really strong women who never had the opportunity to go to college. I mean, my mother's salutatorian of her class, and no one ever mentioned, "Nancy, would you like to go to college?" It was never even like a conversation. Like, how does that happen? So with me, it was like, I don't, and I don't mean this in a negative way. I saw how hard my grandmother worked. I mean, she helped us mow yards for $3 or $4 in the neighborhood so we could have the money, and she worked in the school lunch line, and she would take change out of her pocket and give it to me for an ice cream. And I watched how hard she worked, and I thought, that's what I don't want to do. I don't want to be where I can't do things all because I don't have an education. And a woman coming up, no disrespect to her whatsoever, but a woman in the late 70s and early 80s and mid 80s, I mean, you better go get your degree if you're going to have an opportunity. Now things have settled down a little bit, and I think there are a lot of terrific careers for women that don't necessarily require a degree. But at my time, you had to.
I know Hillary Clinton talked a lot about the glass ceiling, and that was something that, that we've heard a lot about in the last, I don't know, 10 or so years or something like that, or 5 or 6 years. But sometimes I think, why tell them there's even a ceiling?
Yeah.
Why has it got to be glass? Why has there got to be one?
Yeah. I totally agree. I mean, as bad as I hate to admit it, it is real. There really is a glass ceiling.
Is. But
I never saw one. I never felt one. I never allowed myself to see one. I'm just going to plunge right on through that.
That's it.
You just, if you operate in a box or you operate with a ceiling on top, then it's going to alter the way you do things. So you have to believe it's not there. And when I became an owner, when I got heavily involved in broadcasting, where I knew one day I would own, women owned maybe 5% of the radio and TV stations across the country. I never focused on that. And people would interview me and they would bring up that stat, and I was like, oh, I didn't realize it was that low. Each time they were trying to bring out in me that that women should own radio. No, we shouldn't own stations because we're women. We should own stations because we're good at what we do. And it has nothing to do with gender. And, my advice is always plow through. I mean, prove that you have the right to own a license to be a broadcaster in the United States of America. Earn that privilege, because it is an earned privilege. Even today, here we are coming up on 2020. We still only own probably 10 or 15% of the stations. I don't know what the number is because I don't focus on that. But I think sometimes you can use it as an excuse to not do things, and you're able to say, well, women don't typically own stations, therefore I won't push myself so hard to be one. And I think that's an excuse in a lot of ways.
It's kind of like, when they tell you, my dad said, anytime anybody would tell me that I can't, you
just poke the snake with a stick, right?
Don't poke the bear. But, again, he never told me I couldn't. And I think that is something that, if I couldn't do something, he'd say, well, figure it out. And that was just, never really thought about that I couldn't do it. And I think that's what, maybe if we're teaching our daughters that, if we get nothing out of the Women in Business Month or the successful women that, have come before us, I think that's one thing that I want to teach my daughter is, look, watch Beth Mann. Do you see that? And watch Cindy Lax and Heather Riley and the different ones that are, maybe spitfires that are around them that they can really kind of watch and take one thing away from each one, to really kind of say, well, okay, well, I like that. I want to do that.
Success is measured in so many ways, but to me, the most important thing is that you do with your life what you want to do with your life. If you want to be a stay-at-home mom and your goal in life is to be a terrific mother, then go be a terrific mother. Kudos to you. If you want to own a business, then start laying the groundwork early, like in grade school, that's what you want to do. I mean, I learned my very first business lessons actually came about because my mom had 2 jobs raising us. She worked for a factory. She worked for Rockwell International, eventually worked her way into a payroll position. But her part-time job was a Mary Kay beauty consultant. And it was through that program that I learned about orders and fulfilling orders and money and making the money match. And so my job was always to take her orders, get the order ready to place, and to be able to come up with how many total dollars she was to be collecting. My brother, his job was to be sure that all of her sample kits were ready to go, all of her mirrors were washed and ready to go, because she would come busting in from her other job and then go do that 2 or 3 nights a week. And so we learned about business. Those orders would come in. I would put them in the sack. I would add it up, put a total on it for her. I'm like 9 years old, 10 years old.
I bet you loved it, too.
I loved every bit of it. I mean, when she would come in at night, I'd say, what'd you sell tonight? How much did you sell tonight? and little did I know I would be a sales manager one day and then actually, move on to be a business owner.
Well, what an awesome business model that is for you at 9 years old. So here you go. He comes in and you're modeling a small business right there. And,
Absolutely.
And it's a valuable experience.
It was a very cool experience. And, she had to look the part. So, I would make sure that she had her outfits ready, and I would watch how she would dress, and you're making impressions on kids every day, and you don't even know you're making those. I mean, some days I feel even under pressure because Tess, it's interesting. A lot of young women do come up to me and say things about owning a business or doing something that seems to them to be big time, and it's not big time. It's just my life. It's just what I do. But I try to always be mindful that you are impacting people always, everything you do. And that's my prayer every single day, that, Lord, please allow me to do things that are more pleasing to you, because I know I fail in that regard. I know that there are times I'm not as respectful as I should be, or somebody would see me in a convenience store, but somebody's watching you all the time. And you just have to, I think, be mindful in the way you treat other people, that, other people notice, and especially young kids. They're so impressionable.
Oh, that's one of the things I think since I've started working here and working with you that I've noticed is that you take time for people that some people might just walk by. That's one of the things. And is that something that your mom taught you to do early on? Because, I mean, there's Dylan. Good morning, sweetheart. We have a listener that is the sweetest thing, Dylan Hancock. And, my son, Eli. I mean, there's, it's not necessarily people just with, with special needs and that sort of thing. I don't think I've ever seen you walk past anybody that smiled at you. You would stop and talk to them. And that's something that I think is important as far as listening and asking people how they're doing. And I think that's something you do a lot of.
I love people. I mean, I've always loved people. I got in trouble as a kid, for talking too much. And even in church, my mom would just get right up and come pick me up from church and put me right back over there and squeeze my hand so hard I thought she was going to break my fingers. I've always loved people, and I've always enjoyed being around people. And, I just think it's so easy. The one thing that's free in life is your attitude, your ability to be nice and kind to people. And, why not? I mean, isn't life just more pleasant when you walk in someplace and you're smiling and you're able to say something positive to someone? I mean, I don't allow myself to dwell in negativity, and I don't wallow in pity, and that's just not how my mind works.
That's going to lead me right into the other thing, though, because, you had a big struggle with cancer, with breast cancer yourself.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
And I'm telling, I'd waller a little bit. I would have felt sorry for myself a little bit.
It's a good thing that I don't, because it was a crazy ride. But my 40th birthday party, a bunch of my girlfriends had a big party for me, and a big dinner party, and And it was really extra special. And I remember saying to them, it doesn't bother me that I'm turning 40, except my 30s were so amazing. I mean, everything good in life happened in my 30s. I built my dream home. Who does that in their 30s? But I did because I needed to be in the communities we were serving. And we were super serving Katie's in Trigg County. And I needed to be in that community in order to really do it well. So I decided to sell my 100-year-old home and moved to Trigg County, and I already owned a piece of property there that I was going to build a retirement home on someday. So instead, I go build my dream home in my 30s. And, my career really took off in my 30s. The company really, just took a whole new level, I think as a result of that move, actually. And, I had settled into good relationships in my life, and, my life was just good. And at 44, I was in Nashville at my very first International Broadcasters Idea Bank as a guest, and I was up for Kentucky Woman of the Year. I left that conference to go be recognized by Martha Lane Collins, which was neat because I worked for her campaign in college. My first college vote for governor was for a woman, and that was a really cool thing to me. Yeah. And so I'm there as a top 3 finalist for Kentucky Woman of the Year. They had that place pinked out. Well, pink's not my favorite color. I'm not a pink girl, okay? I wasn't taught that pink is for girl and blue is for boy. That's not the way I was taught. So I'm at this big pinked out event, and I thought, I haven't done my mammogram. I think I'm a little bit late on my mammogram. So I went home, and I did my mammogram. I wasn't really late. I was a few months late. And they called me a few days later, and they said, you need a biopsy. And I said, what do you mean you need a biopsy? And they said, well, it doesn't look good, and there's something concerning there. So very long story short, I said, there must be some mistake because I have no symptoms of breast cancer, and I'm 44 years old. And they said, Beth, there's not a mistake. You really need to take action here, and we need to get this done. So very long story short, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and they said, good news is we have it early. It's no big deal. We'll be able to get through this. And of course, my mind is reeling. And it wasn't about death. It was about, oh my gosh, I'm never going to own my radio stations. My goal in life has been to own radio stations. And I was so altered by that. Not that I couldn't own them, but what about my insurance? And would everything cover so that I would have the money to someday own my radio stations? And how am I going to tell my mother, and how am I going to tell DJ? DJ was going through cancer himself. He had been diagnosed in December. This was May. And I'm thought, how am I going to tell the 2 people I adore that this has happened? So it was a very trying time, and it was a scary time. And, I was just determined. I was absolutely determined this will not alter my life. This is something in my life I have to deal with, but I will not let it deter me from my life goals. And so although we have it early, right? Everything's good. This is early. They say, oh, we're going to remove your breast. Oh, okay. So this is real early, right? That's quite stunning. And I ended up, very long story short, with like 8 or 10 surgeries before it was all said and done. We were completely finished a year later, and I got an infection on the very last procedure, and we got to take it out and start all over again. So it was not the most fun time in my life, but guys, I met people through breast cancer that I would have never met. I have friends that are lifelong. I'm talking about deep level friends that I never knew until I went through that. And because they were going through it also, there's a connection there that will never, ever be broken. And then, our beautiful Pink Out event came from that. And, I celebrated with women last Friday. Hugs from people I'd never met before. 2 people who had just moved to our community who knew nothing about our company or me. In fact, they said, did I get a Facebook? Was I Facebooking with you yesterday? And I said, what's your name? And she said, yes, you're an 11-year survivor. She said, how did you know? How did you remember that? I said, because it's important. I forget a lot of things, but I don't forget a survivor or a person who's been through that battle, that we've been through. So it strengthened me. It made me a better person, I think, in many ways.
I say your life perspective anyway was incredible. But did that diagnosis and everything just take it up to another level.
Absolutely. It absolutely did, and it still does. It's like I'm on steroids now because, I've always been a fast-paced, crazy, run wide open kind of person. That's not new. I probably was at age 2. My brother was a perfect little boy who sat in the room and watched TV all day. I was wild as a buck, running and ripping and running, so we were very different. I was the one that drove my mom crazy, I'm sure. But yeah, it caused me to really think about not why wait until tomorrow to do what I can do today. It really put things in a different perspective of, this is a time when I'm healthy and life is good. I'm not promised that. By the way, you're not either,
Right.
and you're not either.
Exactly.
So let's do it now. Let's live that dream now. And I'm not the person who's waiting to retire. I have no desire to retire. I'm not the person who's waiting until I hit a certain age to do the things I want to do. I'm on steroids to do what I want to do now and, live the dream instead of dream about the end. Why not dream about it today? Why not do it today? And so it did change that. It put everything in just really, really fast motion for me.
I was just talking to somebody yesterday about my aunt had some health problems lately, and she was talking about excuse me, the difference in surviving and living. She said, well, I'm going to survive today so that I can live tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's powerful when you think about it. The difference in when you're every day, you're just trying to survive, you're just trying to tread water, or are you swimming and are we living? And that they're very different things, and they're very different mentalities.
They are, and it's hard not to just get into a routine or a gutter or a rut almost. Even just in life in general. We all just kind of get bogged down in things that don't really matter. And I just, I really try hard to put things in perspective when I get in that bogged down mode. Of, does this really matter? I mean, is this really as big as life? Is this going to alter my life today? Probably not. And so I work at that. I work at not letting myself get bogged down in little things, and I try not to let people around me. I won't let you waller along. You're not going to waller along in my world, because there's just no room for it. I mean, it's really not a place you want to be anyway. I don't think anybody truly wants to waller in their own sympathy.
No.
They just need somebody to help lift them up out of it. So let them state what they think and then move on.
Well, I scheduled a mammogram. Thank you very much.
Good.
And that was something I hadn't done because I'm one of those people I don't want to know. I just don't want to know. I'll deal with it later. I don't want to know.
Well, that's not a good way to look at
it. I know.
So
I'm changing the way that I look at it.
Well,
and
the research is so different now. Used to any cancer diagnosis was a death wish. It didn't matter really what kind of cancer.
Right.
And now, early detection is the number one key to healing and living. And so people just need to go get tested. I mean, I guarantee you, girls can handle the boobs being squeezed. I mean, it's okay. I mean, we've handled a lot more pain than that. It's not.
I've had 3 kids. A girl.
Exactly.
I'm good.
A girl can handle that. You just got to go get it done. It's not that big a deal.
I think it is the fear of the unknown, though.
It is.
You're scared to death to get the phone call that you got.
It
And
is.
That it's part of it's a fear.
It is. And now we're 1 in 8 women are getting that phone call. 1 in 8 women are getting that phone call. And so people say, well, it seems like there's an increase in the number of cases. Yes, there is, because the imaging is so terrific.
Right.
I had all analog mammograms, and I had been writing a campaign for Jenny Stewart Medical Center because they had just gotten digital equipment. And so I had researched the differences so I could write better ads, Ty. I was trying to get the right ads together. This is true. And so when I went to get my mammogram, they said, well, you can go over, it was on the other side of town, and do an analog, or we have new equipment out on Eagle Way where you can do digital. And I said, oh, no. I said, I've been writing ad campaigns for digital, and clearly digital is better, so I want to go get a digital mammogram. So it was my first digital mammogram that detected my breast cancer. And they showed me the difference. The radiologist met with me. He was a friend, and he said, come up to the hospital and I'll meet with you and show you, because I still was like, it's not me, right? So he put it up for me, and there was a There was the analog from 17 months earlier, and there was the digital. And it was like looking underwater and above water difference in the clarity of those two. And he said, I want to tell you something. Had you not done digital, we still wouldn't have found it, because I never had a lump or mass. It was just spread out, little micro spread out calcifications.
That the digital could pick up.
That the digital picked up and the analog didn't. So technology is really, really important, and they're doing so much toward finding cures and treating it that we just hear a lot more about it because we have so much terrific technology out there
well,
now.
and I think we're willing to talk about it. I think that's half of it right there.
Yeah. Just face it. I mean, just have a conversation. I mean, it's not like it's something nobody knows anything about.
Right.
So, I at first I thought, I can't do that. I can't really be positive. I'm afraid I might cry. Well, so what? I might cry. I cried Friday.
I cry all the
Big
time
deal. I mean, it makes you
Sometimes it's
real.
good to cry.
Sometimes it's good to
It
cry.
really is, even if you're a guy.
You just feel better after
That's
you cried, right?
That's right. And it's okay.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you being here more than you know.
Well, thank you
More
guys
than you
for
know.
for offering. I'm glad you asked me for After Pink Out, because I've been on an emotional roller coaster trying to get our DJ Over the Third radio room done, and that was really wow. That was one of those dreams that I'm like, are you sure you want to do this?
And that's what I was going to mention. I admire the dreamer in you, because I've known you now for about 12 years, and we've had this love for radio. We've talked about it. You've talked about this room for a long time, and you just set it in motion, and you did it, and you got it done. And I think, DJ would be proud, Beth would be proud, everybody would be proud to see this beautiful room, and everybody is. That was a dream of yours.
Absolutely.
You did it. Here at WPKY, when we started talking about that, no fear. You jump in and you just do it because you knew it was the right thing to do.
I am so excited about WPKY. I was just telling Heather the other day, I have so many things to be happy about, to be excited about, and things are going well for our company. But when I look ahead, the thing I'm most excited about is the future of WPKY.
Yeah.
And, I think this community has just been tremendous. They've put their arms around us. They've said, we love you. We want you. We want our radio station to be good. And that's all it takes for me to wind me up and send me out. I'm ready to go. And we've put together a dream team here. I'm so happy with our morning show team. And, I mean, John Miller is just over the top. And Audrey is a phenomenal writer. She didn't even know how good she was.
Exactly.
And I still don't think she knows how good she is. But she has just really shined in that role. And then our sports crew. I mean, Dennis and Bob and Mitchell. I mean, these kids just blow me away. I'm so happy with the way things are going here. And I'm meeting with Heather today to start working on our 2020 plans. And we've got good things coming.
I saw Beth right before a ball game started at the very beginning of the season. I think it was like our first ball game up there, and I looked at her and I was like, "Are you listening to this?" Man, that sounds good. And she just she's like, "Yeah, I know." She had her headphones on, and it really, it was Todd, the whole 9 yards. They were all just really on point. So
I mean, Todd Griffin, who gets that guy on their team? I'm telling you, the Lord's just smiling on this company, and. I mean, he's just over the top. He blows me away.
We're living.
We're living. And, if you act in fear, if you fear failure every day, you probably will fail because you'll make decisions as though you're going to. You just make the wrong decisions every time because you're fearing that you're going to fail, and you almost are promising yourself that you will. But if you approach it as though there's no way we can fail. And, I've told my mom, I said, she said, you're going over there in Caldwell County where you don't know a whole lot of people. Are you really, my mom wasn't really sure she wanted me to do this. She was going through cancer at the time. Her confidence was altered. And I said, Mom, you put people all the way around you where if you lean too far forward, somebody pushes you back a little bit. You lean too far back, somebody leans you back up, props you back up. You get too far to the left, they bring you back to the center, and to the right, back to the center. If you just surround yourself with good people, you'll stand up straight and tall.
I love that.
Well said.
Thank you for being here, though.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's great to be with you guys.
You
I
don't know
enjoyed
how
it.
much that meant to me for you to come in.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Hey, that is our Beth Mann. I'm gonna say R, Beth Mann.
Why not?
Right? I'm gonna slap its mine on her.
There you go.
Claim her. Hey, it is Tess and Ty and Coffee Talk, and we sure did appreciate her coming in, and Nate and Mr. Bean and everybody from over at Trice Hughes. So stick around. Of course, we've got we're gonna catch you up on all things news and weather and sports related, and see what's going on out in the world. How about that?
That's right.
It's 1580 103.3 WPKY.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. Top Republicans in Congress were notified in advance of the raid in Syria to take out Islamic State terrorist leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. Democrats were not. Why, President Trump says?
The answer is because I think Adam Schiff is the biggest leaker in Washington.
Congressman Schiff chairs the House Intelligence Committee. A new wildfire